Welcome to another day and another dose of Did You Know? And I am so happy to be here with Miss Donna Drake. How are you today?
I'm doing really well, Danny. I am so happy. We are here. We are social distancing, but we are thriving during this pandemic. We are here for others, and it's exciting to kind of get back to work, you know, doing what we love, telling stories about businesses, nonprofit organizations. Just got off the call with this young woman who just graduated from Comac High School, and she is the shining star for Crohn's and colitis today. So she called in, and I also worked on a segment for the 100th celebration of women getting the right to vote. So it's good
Yeah,
stories.
you've
It's
been
just a different way
busy.
of working. Huh?
Good. And I'm in the green room, hence my green glow today. So we're walls apart from each other, but as close as we're allowed to here in New York. Yes, that is how dedicated I am and how much you mean to me. I will drive down here. I did have some other meetings, but that's okay. Make the best of both worlds. So one of the things people don't know is like we've done a couple things together, and this is what I love about collaboration and your heart. Sometimes you meet people through like a chain of events in your life. And those chains and events or the other people in your life kind of fade out. They were there for a reason. It ebbs and flows. They weren't there to stay. But you were one of those people that during that were meant to stay in my life. And it's kind of rippled into, we have Callie Faye. She's going to be on your show calling in
Yes,
later. And that's what it's about. That's what life's about, right?
absolutely, 100%. They always say, even with relationships, reason, season, or lifetime. Sometimes people come into your life for a reason, sometimes
Mm-hmm.
for a season, and sometimes for a lifetime. And you and I kind of always know now when someone's going to be staying around forever because I get signs from the universe and special little clues. Like the moment that we were both in Prescott and your car pulled up, and I looked out the third floor window of the hotel and I'm like, Danny, sure enough, you open the car door and your hair, just like blonde, beautiful hair, caught the sunlight, and it was you. But I intuitively knew that it was you.
Okay.
So usually now I just trust my instincts about those types of things, and I'm kind to everybody. I try to do my best to always bring my best to the universe. But it's fun when the universe sends me gifts, and I feel like you're one of those gifts in life. And
Mm.
I'm thankful to know you. And then through you, I had Yarate on the show the other day, and now her segment with her beautiful fashion is playing at the Palace,
I
with
know.
Prince Albert. It's all good. It's all just great things. And yeah, I am very excited to work with Callie Faye. So thank you for sourcing her and for finding her. She's going to be a great guest today.
Oh, she's going to be fun. And what you were talking about, I want to go back, and that's kind of
Okay.
how Donna Drake show started. Like you talk
Thanks for the
about like,
journey.
this show is all about like living your purpose, living through love, and how has that affected it? Because sometimes it hurts, especially when you love strong. You can hurt really strong too. That actually just happened to me yesterday. Was yesterday Sunday? And it makes me violently ill because you can swing very one way and then the other way because you feel so passionately. But that was a side note. But this
Mhm.
whole show kind of started of your love and your purity and the gift that you were given of like a vision.
It all kind of started for me. Well, it started way back in second grade, which was the initial little like, hey, you're going to grow up and do something. But it was really in 2008 when the economy took a big tank back then.
Oh yeah.
And I was on my way to work for the Melting Pot down in Philadelphia. They were talking about a show about paying it forward. And I said, oh, I'd love to host that show. I'm going to come down and work on some projects. And that sounds like it's down my lane. And then when the economy took a tank, it was October, and they said, oh, we're not going to do that show anymore. So on my drive home from Philadelphia to Long Island, I said, oh, you know what? Maybe I'll just do my own show. And that was the little seed, right? I'm like, how can I make a difference using the skill set that I've had for 20 years, but now rechanneling it into
Mhm.
helping us move forward? And I feel like the timeline is exactly the same as it is now, just a little different. But then it was on December 28th of 2008 while I was sleeping that the television show was divinely gifted to me. It came down like a computer download, Danny. I dreamt the entire thing in color. It looked exactly like where I'm at now with the set, the way the lights are, some 12 years later. Um,
Right.
but it was this dream, and I wrote down everything I could remember, how the lights felt, the smell, the people around me, the sensations, the stories that I was telling. And slowly but surely, I have been able to manifest that dream with the help of hundreds of people. So it's just like my dream that other people are dreaming with me now. It's kind of a
Yeah.
collective dream, I guess, is what you would say. But I'm honored to be able to do what I do, to have the platform to help businesses, to help people, to help brands, causes. It just makes me happy. Just like you, like your happiness is found in service to others. And
Yeah.
this is my service. This is what I do.
You are
Hopefully.
using your gift, and it is showing. Valerie's watching from the West Coast. She is a beautiful jewelry designer, and she's like, she's
Oh,
the real
really?
deal. So with lots of butterflies and hearts and everything lovely that Valerie always does. So going back to when I was talking about how, I love so hard, and that means I can get hurt so hard also. And that is just part of life. And I almost wanted to put like a protective wall up the other day. Well, yes, the other day as in yesterday. Then I was like, no, if I put that wall up to protect myself from the pain, I will also be protecting myself from the love. So you can't you it's like one of those catch 22s, right? You want to feel all the love, but you don't want to feel the hurt that goes with it, but you have to. So in all of this, I'm sure you've experienced, because you're very intuitive, you can give, but yet you can be taken. How do you handle that? I mean, I had to do a lot of crying. I did a lot of crying. I did a lot of, I, I started to get angry. So I had to do a lot of, okay, we're not doing that. We're not going back into old habits and things like that.
Okay.
And then I ended up doing a lot of praying, and then it settled. It still hurts. It's still like I feel it, but it's settled. So
I
how
think it
do you
depends.
handle
I
that?
think it depends on where the betrayal or where the pain comes from.
Mm,
So think of it as like you're playing a tennis game, right? So you got your racket and a ball comes to you one way, you're going to do this, another racket's this. So I have different winning strategies depending on where the pain's coming from, what wound I already have that it's opening again, right?
right.
And like you said, be forward thinking past the pain. So it depends on how I recognize I guess, the intrusion into my joy. So I see the intrusion and then I'm like, oh, I see you coming. I see you coming. And I'll only allow myself a certain amount of pity, a certain
Right.
amount of pain. So I'll cry in the shower. I'll call a friend. I'll be like, I'll like, right? Recently, I had a situation, and I had to call Jessica, who works with me. She's my PR person, and I called Jessica, and I was like, okay, this happened, blah 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 blah. She says, deep breath. She talked me off the edge, right? And I was like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, you're right. So sometimes you call a good friend that can just give you a paradigm shift, because
Right.
sometimes we get in our own way, and we can't tap into our own soul's joy and greatness because we feel like somebody's heart, there's pain. It's real pain. So how do
Mhm.
you ask me my thoughts on? So calling a friend helps, crying in the shower helps, limiting the amount of self-pity that I'm going to allow myself to feel, and
Yeah.
then finding a winning formula to get over it. And that's one of the ways that I speak on that platform of focus, which is figuring out your consistent, unique strengths. So not only do I go around the world talking about that platform, sometimes I use it on myself. A lot of times I use it on myself. I'm like, okay, I'm talking to myself in the third person. Donna, focus, figure out your consistent, unique strengths. And
Yeah.
by just being my best self, I put a white bubble around me and I'm like, okay, that happened, but watch me now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I use that pain sometimes to fuel my next great oomph of my own conversation. And
You're,
I
you're
just feel like I'm invincible. or I listen to music, invincible. Da, da, da.
Well,
No,
you
again,
are. Like I won't go there because you'll cry when you hear my voice. But Barbara's saying, hey, she's from Springfield, Tennessee. Ooh, I love some Tennessee people. Oh,
I
I've
do
got a big
too.
heart
I
out
do
there in
too.
Tennessee. You know what? When you were talking about it, and I was thinking, okay, what did I do to get over this? Because I can feel it. And I was listening. I listened to YouTube. YouTube speaks to me. But it was, and then you brought it up. You actually snapped it into my forefront of my mind about it's a shift. We're
Yep.
given this pain, we're given this extreme love to shift us. And you know what mine was? And this all just, we're having we're a therapy session here because this is all
Yes.
coming to truth in me, is that it was an old pain that was lit, that I thought that I had controlled or kind of
Manage.
worked through, managed. And it was that shift of, no, Danielle, you haven't. You have not fully released this. So let's get into that next layer of it. So thank you for sharing how you handle that, because that
You're
just made
welcome.
sense of all of my steps I was going through last night and this morning.
Well, and a lot of times too, Danny, people think that my upbeat personality and my effervescentness or whatever is fake or phony, and they're like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I have bad days. I'm human, right? So it's just that I feel that it's also my responsibility to be one of those positive lights in the universe, especially now. And people are counting on me. They're counting on my like live it up tips of the day. They're just like they do your show, the daily dose. They need, somebody's got to step up to the plate to say the sky's not falling, the sky's not falling, the sky's not falling. So I'm mindful of that. So even when it looks like I'm upset and something's good, I'm like, oh, the sky's falling. I'm like, oh no, it's not. I paradigm shift myself. Just in that moment, I just say, whoop, no, it's not.
Right. Because you can control, and that's probably, I mean, like energy attracts light energy. The ripple effect into your life, how that you've manifested everything in that dream per your choice, consciously or unconsciously. You have developed the Donna Drake show and have had like met some pretty cool, amazing people, just out of shits and giggles. Like who like comes to your mind in the beginning of like, dang, that was impactful for me, or
Yeah.
just pretty darn cool?
Every single guest is impactful, but I did dinner theater back in the day. I did Joey and Mary's Irish Italian Wedding, and I was like the stage manager. And part of that whole process was the song "I Will Survive." And I'm a pretty good singer from back in the day, being in part of Futures of America, and I like to sing. So my go-to karaoke song was always "I Will Survive" by Gloria Gaynor. P.S. Fast forward, life happens, and I live in the land of serendipity. Magical things happen to me all the time. I get invited to go to her home to interview her. I'm like, Gloria Gaynor. So I walk in and she offers me donuts. There were donuts on the table. She's like, hello, so nice to meet you. She said, would you like a donut? And I was like, oh, I'm going to just love this. This is so great. So I'm having donuts with Gloria Gaynor, and then we go downstairs and we're playing billiards and and I said, oh, I'm glad I took billiards as a PE credit in college, because I could play a little bit of pool, right? So we're playing pool and we're laughing, and she's got this really cool disco ball. Meanwhile, I'm thinking in my head, do I even tell her she's my go-to karaoke song? Do I even mention that to her?
Yeah.
So we're sitting on the sofa. We're having this great conversation and a wonderful interview. At the end of the interview, she says to me, she goes, thank you. She said, I really enjoyed being interviewed by you. She says, over all the years, people come in with a set of certain questions. Knocking them off, knocking them off, knocking them off, knocking them off. But she and I had a conversation, because that's just my style, right? And she appreciated that. And in that moment of appreciation, my little voice of like not telling her about it made me say, because now I felt like we're friends, right? And I said to her, I said, and I told her the story, and she laughed, and we had the best memory about it. We had the best time. And I have had extraordinary experiences being able to do the television show, from celebrities to everyday heroes, and they're all important to me, because everybody has a story, everybody has a journey, everybody can learn from one another. And that's where my passion and my purpose is that just embracing that and going in prepared, but also celebrating those unexpected moments of goodness and joy, and like those nuggets, that gold. And I'm sure with all the people that you've talked to in your journey, Isn't it cool? Isn't that like that magic, like the best ever?
It really is. I always say when I give like a list, when I do like my resource panel for the military, I'm like, so here's what we came up with between the collective of the people on the panel, the panelists, and myself. But I don't always stick to those questions because if I get curious, I want to know. And I always tell them you have total carte blanche to be like, you're too nosy, Danny. You are way too nosy. I'm not sharing that with you. But people are fascinating. And even when you just look at like a sheet of someone and you get this you're so impressed by their awards and, their accomplishments and their brilliance. And then you start talking to them and you're like, you just took me to a whole different level of appreciation of who you are. Like, what the heck is that? I get that. It drives my passion to dig deeper into people, to like even on the street or in the store or just carrying it on into my life. So what keeps your passion going? Like what fires you, fuels your fire?
I think it's a sense of my humble beginnings, and even humble times of being an adult, times of crisis, times of challenge, the moment that I was pregnant with my first child and my mom died at the same time, it was like up and down all at the same time. Or
Yeah.
when, my husband, Tom, that had passed away from colon cancer. And, sometimes I'll still take his ashes and we dance around the house and I just pretend like he's there. Um, I think for me, it's just an appreciation of the breath in my lungs keeps me going. And especially now with COVID-19 and so many tragedies that are happening. But I've been living my life like that for as long as I can remember, right? So those moments of just, oh, I have a day. I woke up and my eyes are awake. That appreciation of a day, being thankful for that day, that's what keeps me strong and also keeps me not afraid. There have been times I've had $1.97 in the bank. So I'm like, okay, I'm resourceful. I'll figure it out, Or if you look at all the friends that you have on Facebook and you say, I could couch surf. I know at least these 25 people that would allow me to crash on their sofa. I don't have to worry. It'll be okay. Right? Well, so I guess that's the stuff, those little things, those games I play in my head that are my winning formula of just knowing it's okay. And I have a lot of faith in spirituality. And when I trust on that, when I really trust my faith, and it doesn't matter what religion you are, but when you feel like there's a greater universal being and that there's a collective energy and a source that guides your own purpose, I'm okay with that. And I know someday I'm going to leave the earth. So until I do, I might as well be doing something with my day.
Right. It's freeing. It's freeing to release that control because really it's a control of something that you have zero control over. You never will. As hard as you try, it just won't happen. And that's something that I try to build on in myself. And so like I listen to your tools and I'm always like, okay, what can I implement into myself? Because I believe we have to learn from each other. And then magical things working. Just like you introducing me to Big Daddy, me having a conversation with Big Daddy about life insurance because I got my license to serve the military and all the veterans that didn't have anything, right?
Give me this heart. Do you see my heart?
Yes. And it was just that ripple effect. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I was looking for. And it was just that letting go of control of my life. I had no idea, like looking for nothing out of it. Like that's when I first met you, I was getting nothing out of any situation except for what I received in. Does that make sense? When you go in without anything, but you manifest what you want because you receive what's out there.
Yes.
And that is our connection. And that is a gift that when people watch your show and listen to you, that if they really listen, that's one of the gifts I received. And I am sure I'm one of many in that world.
I call that painting with people. you know, what I really do best is I paint with people. You could say I'm the ultimate networker, but I take it like way, way deeper than that. So when I meet a person, I put them on my palette of success and I paint with them. I'm like, okay, you need to know this one's got to go this way, this one's got to go that way, that one goes that way. I'm like the conductor. So, but before we wrap up, because today I'm actually like filming.
Yeah, I was just, yeah.
I wanted to share that it's almost the anniversary of the passing of my singing director, Mr. George Fernald. He passed away, ironically, on July 4th. And I had traveled all over the country singing at veterans hospitals and doing my best as a young woman from the time I was 12 to 23 and then continued on. We sang songs from the 30s to the 70s. We did a patriotic finale. And I know that he's somewhere up there, just an extra guardian angel for me. And I hope that during this crisis that we can find that conversation for between the here present on earth and the others that are here in spirit, to know that they never leave you. Because I know right now there's a time where we're feeling like isolation, we're feeling abandoned, you know, we could be feeling stressed, we could feel sometimes worthless, we could, you know, people that have been sober are now maybe not so sober, or drug use, all these horrible things that the stress is causing us. If we could just take a moment to know that there is connection. There's connection to other humans here on earth, but there's also a connection to the divine, whatever your divine is, and to just be at peace right now and to just embrace one another. Send people virtual hugs, give them a call, sing happy birthday to them. And I am mindful of that. So every time I see that beautiful American flag waving right now, I'm just feeling like it's a big hug from Mr. Fernand, who we called Mr. F. And I just know that I'm living in love and that he's proud of me. And even though I can't call him and say, oh my gosh, this is the latest, greatest celebrity that I just did, and he'd say, oh, I'm so proud of you, I still hear that. I hear his voice. So if you listen to that, we can hear that.
Well, you just answered my last closing question, which is, what does love mean to you in this moment? I am not going to have you repeat that because you have a very busy schedule, because you organically answered it on your own.
The circle of life is love. So
Yes.
thank you.
So thank you so much for opening your heart and your soul, not just to me, but to everybody in the world and to everybody out there watching. Just remember, you love hard, love pure, and love true.
Thank you. Bye.